Hi, my name's Steve Fairclough and I'm a media composer based in the north of England. I write music for television, radio and cinema, and I use digital audio workstations every day of my working life. In this series of 3 short films, I'm going to look at different aspects of computer-based audio recording. First, I want to show you how to get the best from your system and what to look for when you're buying or upgrading. Okay, here we have a benchmark test running on a couple of machines. It's designed to test an audio computer system with the sort of tasks that a computer used to create music would be expected to handle. When setting up and testing, I use benchmarking software to test machines like for like. They replicate real-world usage scenarios and demonstrate just how well machines will handle being put under heavy workloads. Here, the well-respected Doorbench test is running a combination of soft synths and effects in real time. Whilst the consumer card will manage 6 instances at 12 milliseconds of latency with the convoluted reverb tests and can play those back without any problems, in a moment you'll hear how easily the headroom can be reached on a machine running a number of different tasks in the background. What you can hear there is the sound of a computer falling over. With a quad-core processor, like the Intel Core i7 in this PC from Scan, the CPU's ability to allocate different sections to different tasks means that it can handle a massively increased load. The Pro card can manage 40 instances at 1.5 milliseconds buffer with plenty of overhead room left to achieve over 100 instances before overloading the machine. No problems there. The benchmarks themselves run with the synths and effects that are built into the host sequencer, and the chances are you'll be looking to run some that are a little more advanced. But it's important to remember that software writers will always take advantage of power available, so if your budget will stretch to it, a quad-core machine will allow you to work much more intensively and on much bigger projects with all the newest and most advanced software. Here, I'm using a violin multipart setup from this String Essentials program to play a chord sequence on this 6 gig quad-core i7 machine from Scan. This is a very demanding patch because it's made up of a number of different programs. Now let's try and load the same multipart into this machine. Struggling. As you can see, this PC is only able to load a small portion of the program before it falls over and is unable to complete the load. The reason is this computer only has 1 gig of RAM, and the sample set requires much more than that to be able to play back the full orchestra's worth. But even if I increase the RAM in the PC, this wouldn't necessarily solve my problem. The version of Windows Vista I'm running here is what's known as the 32-bit version. Now what this effectively means is there's a limit to how much RAM each program instance can access, regardless of how much physical RAM I have installed in the computer. To be able to load the full sample library, I would need 4 gig of RAM in the computer and to be using the 64-bit version of Windows Vista. Now the availability of drivers for your hardware on 64-bit Windows is something that can deter people, but specialists like Scan are happy to advise you about an appropriate upgrade path. So your choice of operating system is important. With Windows Vista and the imminent release of Windows 7, you can run a full 64-bit operating system. And the 64-bit edition of Vista can address 16 gigs of RAM as opposed to 3.5 gigs for a 32-bit operating system. And you want as much RAM as your machine can take or you can afford. Here's a fact. Regular sound cards are just not equipped to deal with the demanding loads put on them by specialist music software. Consumer sound cards are limited by their drivers, the low-level software components that allow programs to talk to the card. And music applications work much better with specialist drivers, and it's an important factor in favour of a professional sound card. Few consumer sound cards fully support specialist driver formats such as the Audio Stream Input-Output driver, or ASIO for short. Now, ASIO is an industry-standard computer sound card driver protocol for digital audio. It provides a direct, low-latency and high-fidelity interface between the application and the sound card, cutting the operating system from the middle. And at some stage you may also need to use other less common drivers such as GSIF that aren't supported by consumer level cards, so it's good to have the capability should you require it. The other key factors are the quality of the A to D converters and the signal path of the card itself. Your aim should be to have as transparent a sound as you can at every stage, so you only hear the music you're working on. Noisy inputs will cause noisy recordings, degrading your sound and causing more accumulative background noise in the final mix. Professional cards can offer higher sampling rates and better signal-to-noise ratios, resulting in a higher quality recording chain that ensures the best possible sound is created. Scan offers specialist sound cards from RME and M-Audio. The driver latencies are very low, and the sound is processed at a much higher rate, and consequently suffers no degradation. If you're serious about making music on your computer, a dedicated, decent sound card is a must. Once you've made somewhere quiet enough to record musical instruments or voices, the last thing you want is your computer getting in on the act, as it does in this recording of a nice acoustic guitar. What you could hear there was computer hiss. In purpose-built studios, the computers are locked away in a well-vented but soundproofed cupboard with cables running to the workspace. With a home studio, the chances are that you and the PC will be in the same room, and where you're really limited for space, it'll be in the room where the recording's taking place. Now, most noise comes from cooling system fans. The fans are necessary to ensure a constant airflow throughout the system, and without them the PC would become unstable and overheat, but unfortunately, as with any moving parts, they emit noise as they work. You can buy low RPM fans designed to be quieter, and it's best to go for the largest fans your system can support. The larger the fan, the more air it can move, and that means you can reduce fan speed and thereby minimise noise. Now, apart from system fans, you may also find fans on your CPU heatsink and PSU. A CPU heatsink fan tends to be noisy. It's a good idea to replace it with a well-built silent heatsink. Now, sometimes you can get away with a large passive cooler that works without fans, and some manufacturers have started releasing heatsinks that allow for up to 140mm fans to be used. These extremely quiet and low-speed fans move a vast amount of air and cool extremely well. The remaining fan noise comes from the PSU, which will have at least one fan in it to keep it cool. And firms such as Zalman specialise in quiet PC components that handle high workloads while maintaining a whisper-quiet design. Once you've made the fans as quiet as possible, you'll start to notice the noise generated by other components. And the biggest culprits are graphics cards and hard drives. You don't need a high-end graphics card in an audio PC. A low-end card will do what you require. I highly recommend going for a passive graphics card that doesn't have a fan. It won't play the latest games, but it will provide you with outputs for multiple monitors and will run all your audio applications with ease. Slower hard drives are generally quieter than fast ones, but the faster the hard drive, the higher the track count you get to work with. A silencing enclosure can reduce the audible levels of noise to almost nothing, giving you more performance with minimal interruptions.